the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Let's go into the offensive line this week, gentlemen. What position battle are you most interested seeing play out in fall camp here, Jack Foster?
For the offensive line specifically?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got to be left guard, right?
I think it's left guard, but the thing I would say about left guard is I think they're going to be fine. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are invested in what left guard looks like, whether it's Karich, whether it's Jackson Lampley, whether it's Sham Mumarov, whether it's Bison Lang, whoever, Dane Davis. I think it's just going to be fine. Like, Tennessee's going to be fine at guard. Like we saw last year, guard is it's going to be fine. Like, Ollie was solid. Jackson Lampley was solid in the bowl game. Like, I just think they can rotate and they can figure it out, and Tennessee's going to be fine there. For me, I look at left tackle. Like, Lance Hurd is a plug and play guy, but I want to see how Lance Hurd and John Campbell, who's moving over from left tackle to right tackle, how does he adjust? Like, is there a learning curve there, or is it like one of those things where Nico walks in and we hear out of fall camp that, like, oh, the Twin Towers a little bit here with Lance Hurd and John Campbell on both sides? Like, you just feel really good that it's just gonna be a seamless thing, and that John Campbell is gonna work just fine at right tackle, and Lance Hurd is just gonna be really good because, I mean, he hasn't played. Like, obviously a 5-star transfer, but he was stuck behind two future NFL tackles at LSU and didn't get a lot of playing time. Early returns are good this summer, but I think it's just one of those in fall camp. To me, I want to hear that, like, Lance is dominating, kind of into a similar way of Darnell Wright in years past, or you kind of want to hear that, like, oh, he's different on the left side. Like, it's just one of those, because it's going to be so important to protect Nico's blind side. And if he has that and he's showing that in fall camp, I think you feel really good about the rest of the offensive line.
Yeah, I think you want a special player at left tackle. And John Campbell's really good, but he's not a special player. I don't think any of us are talking about him in that way. And he wasn't last year. And of course,
but he doesn't have to be special. He just has to be good.
Yeah, exactly. But you want that left tackle position to be a special player for Nico to take a really big step and to be among the best quarterbacks in the country. So, yeah, I think how Hurd performs at left tackle is probably the most intriguing part of the offensive line. I mean, I don't even know if it's close, but if we're talking position battles, I guess, I mean, the one that feels the most up in the air to me is left guard. So I guess that would be my answer to your question.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like Jack said, left guard's the only battle. I think we know who's going to start at every other position. You're right. You want to hear good things out of Lance Hurd. You want to hear good things out of John Campbell. I continue to think maybe one of the more important things is just what does the development of the backup offense tackles look like, and who emerges there. I mean, I know this probably is going to be a popular take. I know everybody likes John Campbell. I know Gerald Mincey is not a fan favorite. Gerald Mincey was on the field able to play a lot more than John Campbell was last year. John Campbell missed a good bit of time. So when you talk about what Tennessee doesn't have, or at least Dane Davis, offensive tackle number 3, and nobody else who's played a single meaningful snap of football at Tennessee is the backup offensive tackles. I think you want to hear about some guys developing there, and I don't know how much of it you'll know. Yeah, I don't know how much of it you'll really know about them developing, but those guys being able to be competent if they're called upon, I think is, close to as important as the left guard battle, and probably not as important as what Lance Hurd, how good he can be in his first year in Tennessee's program. But to me, it's kind of the other storyline on a very veteran offensive line.
Well, I think too, we should mention, I'm sorry we haven't, is Cooper's backup, because we saw what the difference is if Cooper's out and Cooper's missed time. Like, you need to have a good option and someone who's comfortable, where, like, Ollie was thrown into it. You need to go into this fall, like, you have a clear guy you can count. Like, that's his job, is to be the backup center and not just a guy who is rotating and not sure week over week which position he's going to play, because Ollie was versatile. Dane Davis was versatile. But you still want to be in a spot where you just are like, Bison Lang, you ran with it. You're our backup center. We trust you. And he's the center and waiting. Right, Jack?
Yeah. I don't think you want Dane Davis taking reps at center. That feels like,
because you need him elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That feels a little last resort. And by the way, side note, how underrated was Jerome Carvin at Tennessee?
Yeah.
Like, when looking back on it, he was so versatile. And I mean, any college team would love to have a guy like that, and he just was hardly ever talked about. But
yeah,
I think it feels like Vyson Lang is the guy that you point to potentially be Cooper Mays' backup, and we all know that Cooper Mays has struggled mightily with injuries during his Tennessee career. And if he can stay healthy, that'd be a huge win for Tennessee, but it's no guarantee. So that's another one that, as far as the 2 deep to keep an eye on in fall, probably the one mostly to keep an eye on.
This is definitely, and it does feel like Vyson Lang just grabbing that job would be so encouraging for all the reasons y'all are talking about this year, but also just next year. It's once again, Tennessee's going to have they're truly going to have a lot of turnover on their offensive line next offseason, and it feels like they're going to probably have to go grab some guys in the portal. Obviously, this is just the ongoing debate with ongoing conversation with Tennessee's offensive line. It's going to start developing some guys they recruited in high school, and maybe a couple of those guys step into starting spots, but it feels like it's going to be heavy portal again. So for anybody, and Vyson Lang seems like one of the more plausible guys to potentially develop into a guy that can be a starter in 2025. I think that would also go a long way into having a little bit of stability and just kind of having what Tennessee has to do to patch up the offensive line in the portal following the season would be really important.
Yeah, I like it. Final thing here, Vol Hoops. Let's do a year one analysis of guys as we get through the dog days of summer before Vol Hoops is back here in several more months than Vol football. But Ryan, you being more of the basketball guy here, Jordan Gainey, year one. What was your takeaways from him making the jump up? Obviously, being the son of wow, why am I blanking on Jordan Gainey? Justin Gainey. I didn't want to say Justin. It didn't sound right. Justin Gainey, and the associate head coach, and looking at what he ultimately did in year one, making the jump up from USC Upstate. What did you make as the early returns? How did he improve as the season along? What were your strong takeaways?
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.